Hello folks, welcome back for the second episode of Burn Cartridges. My name is Michael Burns, and on this show, we go back and take a look at 4 games from different eras of video game history. Last time, we looked at Mario Bros. On the Atari 2600, but this time we're going to take a look at Marble Madness, which was an arcade game released by Atari in 1984. It was designed by Mark Kearney, who is actually still a pretty big name in video games today. He's worked with Naughty Dog and Insomniac and is still heavily involved with Sony and PlayStation. So this is the first game that Mark Kearney made, and it set him up for a pretty fruitful career in the gaming industry. So let's hop it right in and see what it's all about. First off the bat, it's a very simple game. You are just trying to control this marble and get it to the end of the level. However, it's a shockingly difficult game once you actually get into it. This is just the practice level, so it's a very simple run. There aren't any enemies. You have a lot of time to finish it. It's really not that difficult to get through. Once you get to the second level, however, the difficulty spikes substantially. You start running into enemies, like this little black marble down here that will bump into you. And that's one of the very cool things about this game is the collision physics are very, very satisfying. You really feel like you're controlling a pretty fragile marble. If you jump off a ledge that's too high, your marble will shatter. As you can see, I also just got eaten by another one of the enemies that just try and jump on you. There isn't an inherent penalty for death. There isn't any like 3 lives and you're out type of rule. However, every time you die, it does take time to respawn, and that takes time away from you trying to get to the end of the level. So there is the penalty in that sense. And as you can see, I'm nowhere near the end of the level, and we're already down to our last 13 seconds. It's a very difficult game, and that's really what drew people to this game in the first place. People really enjoyed the challenge of it, and people that still really enjoy playing this game today really enjoy the challenge that this game brought. Unfortunately, this game isn't very long. There's only 6 levels to it. So once people mastered it, they kind of dropped off playing it. It was really popular when it first came out, but that popularity really only lasted about 6 weeks, and then people had figured out how to play it well enough and finish those 6 levels reliably that they didn't really want to come back to it all that often, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of really cool things that are happening in this game, especially the art style. The art style, I think, is fantastic. I think it looks great, and Mark Kearney has said that he was influenced especially by M.C. Escher, which is, at least to me, very clear in a lot of the level designs. These have a very Escher feeling to them, and that's a really cool art style for a game to take. And you still see those types of influences in games today, such as Monument Valley, a puzzle game that takes heavily after M.C. Escher artwork. So it's cool to see that even back in the days of arcade games, that was still something that was, that even that kind of out there art style still had a place. This game has a lot of really unique feeling to it, just like from the art style itself, and the fact that you're controlling a marble. It's not a typical racing game, but it has feelings of a typical racing game, but it's also a little bit more complex than that, and that's pretty indicative of what Atari was looking for when this game first came out. They were just recovering, or trying to recover, from the video game crash of 1983, and so they really wanted unique games that weren't already in the arcades, and they wanted to try and bring people back into the gaming world. And they couldn't just keep releasing the same types of games that had oversaturated the market during the market crash of 1983. And Mark Kearney really took that to heart and created this really unique and really cool game that is Marble Madness. And then, aside from the art style, one of the things that's pretty historic about this game is it's the first arcade game that actually had a stereo sound on it. And it had a really amazing soundtrack, which unfortunately you can't hear with the way my setup is set up. But it's a really cool soundtrack. It was created by Brad Fuller. It changes every time you go to a different level. It's really just jazzy. It has really cool sounds to it. And yeah, it really made full use of that stereo sound system that other games really didn't have. So I'm going to give it one last go here to kind of wrap up the video. this might be the game that I am the worst at playing. I find it incredibly difficult, but that's really, it's not the game's fault at all. That's what it was designed to be like, and I really appreciate it for that. It is brutally difficult, but it's really fun to play. Unfortunately, I don't have an original arcade cabinet for it, so I'm using an emulator which only has, you control the marble with the arrow keys. On the original arcade machine, you would actually use a trackball to move the marble, and I think that's a really interesting and unique way of controlling a game, and it really fits obviously with the fact that you're controlling a marble. So I wish that I was able to experience it in that same way using a trackball, but overall I really like this game. It's really fun, even though it is really quite difficult. It has a great style to it, both in the sound design and the art design. And I really hope that all of you appreciated getting a chance to look at it. It's probably not a game that I would have ever been exposed to, but I'm really glad that I was able to. So I hope that you enjoyed watching it. Thank you so much for watching it. And make sure that you come back next time for another episode of Burn Cartridges. So thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day.